You're listening to the Let Him Cook podcast, fueled by Cody Road and the Wild Rose Casino and Hotel Studios. We are post Cyhawk, about a week removed from the game. We're recording on Tuesday here. I was in the arena. I was at Hilton. It was a blast. I'm going to start actually with some of the comments made in the post game, asked by KCCI's own Shannon Earhart. Asked Robert Jones, hey, look at that, Iowa's news leader. She asked Robert Jones just about the atmosphere in Hilton, and he gave a very honest answer, and he said, it gets louder than what it was tonight. And Keyshawn Gilbert looked at Robert Jones like he was crazy.
Yeah.
It was a loud arena, but it seemed like Iowa State didn't even really need the fans last Thursday. I mean, that game was out of control early, and I mean, we were cheering, but it was like, what more can you do? So a great game. Nigel, what was your main takeaway from Cyhawk 2023?
Dude, it was fun. I wish you could have seen my reaction for some plays, but obviously it was on my day off, so I was just watching it at home. And I took it so seriously this year because I knew I needed to have, things to say on this episode. My co-worker, the other sports reporter at our department, Mary Margaret, we had a girls' basketball game. One of the better teams in the area was playing, and she was filming it. She was like, "I'm bored. Do you want to come watch the game with me?" And I was like, "Mary Margaret, it's Cyhawk Day. I know you don't get it. You're a Clemson fan, but
yeah,
it's a holiday. All right, I'm not working. I'm not gonna do it." So, my biggest takeaway, dude, honestly, was just how much more we wanted it. Just from the jump, and you could tell our fans wanted it. They were wrapped around the building at 3:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah,
there was a different vibe, and I think, like I said last episode, when we don't win the football game and we plan at Ames for basketball, I think it gives us just a different type of edge because we haven't seen that Cyhawk victory yet. And I think Iowa is in a rebuilding year. Nonetheless, they were coming off a tough Purdue loss, which I forgot to even mention last episode. But I just felt like we saw an animal with some wounds, and we pounced. And I think that showed on Thursday.
Going to I want to shout out the students. I mean, we're going to get to it a little later. Nigel, you kind of caught the beginning of odds. I was a student for some rough years in men's basketball. And, I'd show up a couple hours early before they'd let you in. The students, man, we were up there Wednesday for the women's game, and I'm talking a line about halfway around the arena, and we're talking to some of the students out front, and they said, as soon as this game's over, we're getting right back in line for the game tomorrow night. So there are people that they got done with the women's game and left the arena and set their tents up right. I mean, they were there for 48 hours.
Yeah.
And just a dedication. It's awesome. It was rowdy. They were talking, the students got in a little early, so it's almost some psychological warfare when you're in there 2 hours before the game even starts as an away team and you're getting booed. That's tough. Like, tip doesn't start for 2 hours. You're still in your sweatpants and you're getting booed. So the students, they showed up big time. Nigel, we're going to walk through this game. This is going to be a lot of fun. This is going to be therapeutic almost.
I need to air some people out.
Man.
While you have the girls, though, the girls game in mention, I need the people to hear me on this one. Iowa women's basketball, y'all are not slick. Y'all almost lost to some freshmen.
Yeah. Good freshmen. Good freshmen.
You showed me why that team may not be Final Four ready.
Yeah. They need someone else to step up, man.
You don't realize how big Sanana was until a game like that. Because, I mean, last year she helped get a lot of shooters like Kate Martin and Gabby and all those other girls open. But it just seemed like a lot of it was it's Caitlin or nothing. And I know Caitlin was playing with a bit more extra flair because she had to get that record, obviously. But I think if that isn't on the say in another universe, she already hits that record. So there's no really incentive aside from winning against Iowa State. I think they come out a bit flatter. I think she doesn't come out with that same spark, So that was a big eye-opening game for me. It showed me a lot of confidence in our women's team going forward. I mean, a lot to be excited for the near future, because unlike guys where people are constantly going to the NBA, girls are going to stay for 4 years for the most part, unless you're a Donarski and you just find a better situation elsewhere.
Right, you transfer.
Right. So I think there's a lot to be excited in a year where there was a lot of uncertainty on the women's side. But let's continue to the men's side. What were you saying?
So just kind of set the tone for the whole game. Keyshawn Gilbert, he's a good defender. I don't think his brand of basketball is to be a great, defensive-minded guard. It wasn't even a trap. It was just full court pressure. And Josh Dix could not. I was trying to explain to my girlfriend who does not know basketball all that well. And I said, basically, he was trying to dribble straight forward. One of the simplest things you can do in the game of basketball, just dribble forward. I mean, that's what you get coached to do when you're 5 years old. Yeah. And he could not dribble forward against Keyshawn Gilbert. Keyshawn Gilbert would not allow Josh Dix to get past him. And I think it was like 16 and a half minutes in the first half, and Josh Dix got benched the whole first half because he just turned the ball over. He picked up his dribble and threw the ball out of bounds. And that was kind of when Hilton woke up and was like, oh, it looked like they were offended that Iowa was even on the court with them. I mean, they looked just like, this is our arena. You're not doing anything you want to do here. And it was just physical. Keyshawn Gilbert played outstanding defense in that first 5 minutes and just kind of set the tone for the rest of the game. And I think that frustrated the Hawkeyes. They were just getting outmanned, overpowered. The points in the paint was really kind of the story of the game. Yeah. And Iowa State's bigs got whatever they wanted down low.
Yes. I mean, shout out to Trey King.
Yeah.
Who I think had a really good game. When I'm on the topic of Trey King and we're talking about Gilbert, I want to talk about one specific possession. And if Aiden could pull this up in post, maybe it would be ideal.
I think I know what you're talking about.
The ball reversal.
Yeah.
Boom, 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 boom. Back to Gilbert. Gilbert's on the left wing.
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken. Finally drives in, hits the Magic Johnson. Right to Trey King. And I had to get up out of my seat and walk away. I got too excited.
Yeah.
I had to go, I needed some air, dude. They were just playing simple, beautiful basketball. Everything was just clicking. And I just hope that this team, because I know they're good enough, I hope they can get on that level on a consistent basis. Because if they can, people are in trouble. I'm telling you.
That play, too, you could hear it looked like prime Spurs, like Tim Duncan, Tony Parker. I mean, it was that just smooth and rhythmic. And you could hear the oohs and ahs because at that point, Iowa State's up, 25.
Yeah.
And so we're as fans, you're just watching because you paid for 40 minutes of basketball. So you're just going to stay there. And the oohs and ahs as that play developed, it was like they were watching a circus show. Like it was just ooh, like fireworks almost. And then that behind the back, just nasty.
It's beautiful. It's textbook.
And I feel like that's something I don't know if it's playing a rival. I don't know if it's you're being up that much. That just kind of gives you that creative freedom. But man, that was nice.
You know what I think it is too? I think and I guess this is what made me so disappointed about last year when we were in Iowa City. TJ has made it apparent on many press conferences that he does not like Iowa. He didn't like him as an assistant when he was with Fred. So I think you have that presence on the sideline and that presence in every huddle of your coach may feel the same way you do as a player, if not even more. So I know Shannon got pretty close to the huddle. I was shocked how close she got to that huddle.
Yeah.
I was like, no one's carried you away.
Bro.
People, FBI people just come and grab you and take you outside.
Secret Service
jump you. But Shannon got the inside scoop, I guess. I hope she heard what he was saying because he seemed very intense even when they were up 15, 20 points. But I think that also that gives you an advantage when your coach hates the team that you're playing just as much as you guys do as players. And for a lot of those new players, they need that fire because a Keyshawn who's going to be good, he's going to do his thing. You just maybe need to get why you hate.
Stands out along with that behind the back. It also involves Keyshawn Gilbert. So he hit, I think, kind of a tough layup. It wasn't called an and one, but it probably could have been. And then Iowa inbounded the ball, just a bad, I don't remember who inbounded it, just a bad long
It's like a
pass.
low bounce pass.
Yeah. And Tamin Lipsey just said, no, thank you.
Took it.
And yeah. And we're going to talk about Tamin Lipsey later. That man is a ball hawk. I mean, if Iowa State needs a cornerback, I know he's not that. Give him a look. Anyways,
Yeah.
I mean,
He's a
he got up and got that ball. I was already celebrating the layup, and I was, looking at my friend Danny. I wasn't even paying attention. And then I just see a 3-point shot going up, and I'm like, what did I was like, look, I looked away for 2 seconds. I was like, how do we have the ball? Just nails, just 3 of these.
It was beautiful.
And I had it, like, I didn't even really see it until they showed it back on the Jumbotron of what just happened. Because I heard the reaction, but I wasn't even looking. So that's how locked in you have to be as a fan. If you look away for 2 seconds, this team might do something and give you a highlight play. So Keyshawn Gilbert just played his ass off. I think he had 11 points in like the first 8 or 10 minutes of the second half. And really just, I was scared. A lot of times in the series, you see a tale of two halves where one team looks amazing in the first half. Comes to mind, Jared Utoff, I think, had 28 points in the first half against Iowa State.
Indiana State Larry Bird in that game.
Yeah, he was – well, in the first half he did. In the second half he went missing. And then I don't think he's been found since. And Iowa State came back and won that game. And there's been other times too where it's just it's hard to keep that intensity for 40 minutes. But I like you said, I don't know what Otts is saying in the pregame or the week leading up to it, but it worked. Because, I mean, they looked ready for a war. And they showed up.
And it's like you forget because Ox has been here for 3 years. It feels like he's been here for longer now. But Rob has been there just as long.
Yeah.
So he's kind of seen the best of the rivalry in beating them at home his first year by 20 or 30. I forgot the actual score. But then he also remembers last year and how much that just like sucks. Because losing in Carver is just different when – they can be at times just as loud as us. I think as Cyclone fans, we kind of naturally, without even realizing it, tone it out. But last year I saw it like in real time, like how loud they can be too. And that can be just as traumatizing to us. So I feel like having guys on the team like Rob, who that also stepped up, not just Trey. Rob did an amazing job in the Cyhawk game. I think it's just a testimony to, that energy of hatred for Iowa is contagious. Yeah. And all you need is one game to, okay, I get it. And I think what's so cool about this team is that we don't have a lot of Brockingtons and Kalshers on the team where could they leave this year due to graduation or like some of them are juniors and sophomores. And like they got time here. So that hatred is going to develop over the years. And same with Iowa. I mean, they got a lot of freshmen and whatnot, but I think this is gonna be a good rivalry for years to come for sure.
Right. And like you said, Rob Jones, he had 18 points, 6 rebounds. Trey King, 17 points, 5 rebounds. I mean, the domination in the paint was just, and you look at Iowa's roster, I don't really see anyone. They don't have a rim protector. Owen Freeman, I think, is good at blocking shots, but I think there's a difference between, can you block a shot and can you protect the rim? I think a great example was last year, Osan Oshuni, didn't have a bunch of blocks, but man, I would have second thoughts before I drive into the basket and try to put up a layup against him. Right. And so it's almost like a preventative, he doesn't even have to block shots because you're not going to try it on him because he's gonna. Right. So, and Iowa State just had a black and golden corral, all you can eat buffet in the paint. It was all night, full service. And the confidence that the post and Keyshawn Gilbert drove into the lane countless times. It was just whatever you wanted in there. 46 points in the paint. Iowa State scored 90, and at times on pace to score 100. And then you kind of take the gas off in the last 5-7 minutes. So, man, that Iowa's defense really has to figure something out because if you can get that good of looks that close to the basket all season, it's going to be tough to win games.
For the opposition, you saying?
Right.
Yeah, no, I think it's a testament to brick by brick. I don't think this is a team that is let Thanksgiving affect their mental that long. And I think they've responded well in the past few days. being that, Iowa's such a big deal. Like whether we could both be terrible that year, and that game is just going to mean a little bit more, and it's
Yeah.
going to give whatever team wins that game, it's going to give them a tad bit more life, especially going into conference play, which I know is coming up pretty soon, and obviously finals, which is obviously not the easiest time of the year to be worried about a rivalry game. Like
Right.
Duke and Carolina, that kind of rivalry has a different advantage because it's in February at the beginning of a semester, and we're kind of it's tough to balance, and
Yeah.
TJ manages to get that energy and that enthusiasm out of these guys at this dire part of the I guess draining part of the year. It's special to see, and I was very satisfied with the Cyclone Massacre.
Yeah, the Hilton Massacre. I think they called that on ESPN. I don't know who did the commentary, but I saw that on Twitter a lot. I mean, yeah, you beat one of your biggest rivals by 25 points. That's a massacre. And Iowa State looked really good. I just got two more things I want to touch on. I don't know if this stems from coaching, and I was thinking back on it a little bit. You would see Caleb Grill complain about calls every now and again last year, but for the most part, Otz's guys really rarely will complain. The most I see it is if a player does something to, like, Robert Jones he fell to the ground, and I don't remember who, but someone I don't think it was intentional, but kicked him while he was on the floor, and he got right back up in his face. But in terms of getting a call and going to the ref and starting to complain, you rarely ever see it
Yeah,
with Iowa State. And I can't tell you how refreshing that is as a fan, especially in contrast to Iowa's women's and men's team, that I don't think Peyton Sanford believes he's ever committed a foul.
yeah.
And it's like, you see it in the instant replay. I've played basketball. When you commit a foul, whatever you say to the ref, they're not going to change their mind. The foul's been called. And I just love watching Iowa State, even if I disagree with the call. And I'm like, why isn't Tamin Lipsey in the ref, like, saying, what did I do? He doesn't. He just goes back to the huddle. They talk ball. They line them up. And there's a level of class and just something I respect so much about, we're just here to do our work. We're not here to complain. Be better the next possession. Just that
Right.
mindset. And I think it fits this team well, of just like a lot of workers, man. Just like guys that put their head down and go to work. And it was just cool to see that contrast, because Fran McCaffrey close to a couple technicals, and then it got so out of hand that I think he was like, why would I get a technical down 28 points? So I don't know. That was just cool to see. I think Iowa State just kind of went about their business. And I think that starts with coaching.
Yeah, Fran cracks me up because he's like a white Darvin Ham. He's just always sitting there with his hands in his pockets, and he doesn't do much. And then all of a sudden, he'll just blow up randomly.
Just
And
irate.
honestly, it'll be at the moments it's like you didn't need to blow up there.
Yeah.
Like it's all right. It's not that serious. But yeah, I mean that's kind of Iowa. It's the I think it's from the Waukee Dowling roots
Yeah.
of just
There's
silver
something
spoon.
there.
Silver spoon, man. It's that ain't how life goes, man. You gotta get your knees dirty sometimes. Anyway, I do want to take kind of a detour just to
Okay.
give a shout out to the obvious that went over this weekend before Sunday's game.
Okay.
Obviously, NBA wrapped up the in-season tournament.
Yeah.
Tyrese Halliburton did the unthinkable, led the Indiana Pacers to the championship game in that tournament, and he made all-tourney team, averaging 26.7 points per game, 13.3 assists per game, and he shot 42.5% from the three-point line. 2K numbers. 2K numbers with game sliders.
Nuts. That's beating up on your little sibling. That's like you gave him the controller that doesn't work, and you're going layup lines.
And dude, it was just like win or lose. I was kind of aggravated because obviously everyone knows I'm a big LeBron guy too. So I was house divided on Saturday, and just to see it was almost like how Jimmy Butler made everyone proud in the bubble.
Yeah.
Bringing a lower seed Miami to the finals. I got the same vibe from that, and I know Tyrese was a good sport about it and gave everyone on the Lakers like great game. There was this one specific picture of him and LeBron. They're hugging, and if he doesn't frame that, he's crazy.
Yeah.
But that's just my 2 cents. But
that is cool too, especially our generation. I like they said it in the broadcast, but Tyrese grew up watching LeBron James.
yeah,
And like you can see the playmaking in Tyrese, you can see the inspiration when you watch him. And I can only imagine going up against like someone you grew up watching, idolizing, trying to, you're in the driveway, thinking you're LeBron James, just like letting the clock run down and then you shoot the buzzer beater like in your head. How crazy. And it's not like Tyrese Halliburton from the age of 12 was going to be this prodigy basketball player. I mean, he was a 3 or 2-star recruit, didn't have a lot of high major offers coming out of high school. Wasn't even after his freshman year, you're like, I don't know. Like, I mean, he's a good player. I don't think he's going to be an NBA all-star.
yeah.
And just to see his rise. And I think this playing tournament really was his, it was his coming out party. I mean, if you don't know who Tyrese Halliburton is by now, you don't like NBA basketball. And
I feel like if you don't know who Tyrese Halliburton, if you didn't know who he was, you do now.
Yeah, exactly. He's becoming a household name. If you pay attention to basketball, he's one of the most exciting young players in the sport. And just what a great, I said this last show, but like just what a great role model. What a great just person to rep Iowa State. I couldn't be more proud of what he's become in the NBA. It's awesome.
100%. And my other point with Tyrese was I saw a lot of people like just getting mad and diminishing the NBA Cup title. And I got on Twitter. I made a tweet. I was like, look, if you're going to diminish this just because you don't like the outcome or the winner of said thing, like we can't, as NBA fans, we can't rave about something. And then the second something doesn't go our way, oh, it doesn't count. That's
Right.
like you lose in a game, you take your ball home and no one else gets to play.
Right.
We can't have that mentality. If Tyrese Halliburton wins the NBA Cup, it's in Iowa State fans' minds, it's the greatest NBA accomplishment of all time. And I would feel the same way too. In the sense of Saturday, I didn't feel like I was a loser, no matter how the game went. And I think it's just a testament, obviously, too, to what LeBron is doing. He's going to turn 39 on December 30th. Like,
nuts.
If Tyrese Halliburton is a foot under that, a dominant 39-year-old LeBron, and mind you, I don't think the Lakers win that game without AD having 41 and 20.
AD went off.
Like
AD went off. He looked like Shaq.
Got 8 up.
Yeah.
So that ain't even that loss ain't even on Tyrese. So that's why I don't feel as bad, because it's like, bro, you did all you could do. Other guys just let you down. But if you mean to tell me for Tyrese's pedigree and journey in the NBA, this is what he's doing in year 4. Year 4, correct? Or year 3?
I think year 3, right?
Because he was
year and a half with the Kings.
It's technically the 2024 season. He was drafted in 2020.
2021. No. Yeah, right. Year 4.
Okay. This is year 4. You mean to tell me it's only going to get better? Buckle up. It's going to be a fun ride. Oh, my God. Are you kidding me? Like, the pedigree that someone – this is like a 2K My Career type of career. Like, how fast the thing is just – the stock is rising of him. It's so exciting. And I'm honestly nervous because I feel like people – like you – I don't know if you can figure him out. I don't know if there's going to be someone who can figure him out. If someone like Patrick Beverley isn't really affecting him like like he did Lonzo, like he's not getting punked or anything. If I'm not mistaken, Tyrese Halliburton hit a game winner over Patrick Beverley. Yeah. So it's just so exciting, dude. I cannot wait to see what his career brings him. And this is only the beginning for Halliburton. So that's why I had to pop out the Hickory. Yeah. Hickory Halliburton jersey. Just had to show some love because he's a real one.
I don't know if you saw it when they played the Bucks. He was hitting the. What time is it? Man,
respectful.
And Dame said you got to be humble. I mean, if you're on that stage and you're winning,
I'd be like, Dame, shut up.
Yeah. You can be humble.
If you that during OKC when you sent Paul George packing.
Right.
What happened to that?
Yeah, if you're in that moment, you have all rights reserved to do whatever the hell you want.
Well, and I think Dan forgets Tyrese is from Wisconsin.
Right. That's his hometown team is the Milwaukee Bucks.
Like, imagine Dylan. I know it's not the same level for Iowa kids, but imagine you get a G League call, right? You're not on the Iowa Wolves, but you got to play the Iowa Wolves. Say you hit a game winner.
That's my city.
In the Iowa Wolves arena. Oh my God, you're gonna go crazy
With Lance Stevenson guarding me. Did you see this? Lance Stevenson signed.
Yes, I was gonna get to that later. Lance Stevenson just signed with the Iowa Wolves as a photog for the local news station just down the road.
I'm there.
If you're not at a game, I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah, I'm there. Let me get. I'll have a full-time Lance Stevenson camp. Like I won't even shoot the game. I'm just gonna stay locked and loaded on Stevenson and see what happens. That's wild.
Every shot, if he makes a shot, keep the camera on him for at least 30 seconds because there's gonna be some crazy celebration. I feel like it's just. I'm glad the NBA is better with Lance Stevenson in the league, and if that's the G League, the regular league, I don't care. But even as a LeBron fan, I feel that way. I feel like he brings a certain intensity out that you just don't get with every guy in the league. So
that was crazy, and it was so out of the blue, just like random Monday, Lance Stevenson. And also, I will say, I think so. Like the Iowa Wolves have his rights. I don't think there's any guarantee that he's going to play a game for the Iowa Wolves. But like the Timberwolves signed him and said, "Well, you're going to start in Iowa because you haven't been in the league for a couple months." So, well, that is to be seen on how much he actually plays in Des Moines. But that was a nuts headline out of yesterday.
The fun thing with the Wolves is they're the number 1 seed in the West right now.
T-Wolves, yeah.
So
keep winning.
If you can call it the best team in the league,
right?
Lance is definitely in a really good position, and who knows? You may just need his veteran presence of he's been in those bigger games for that young team that hasn't experienced much.
Right,
experiencing success right now. They just might need someone like Lance Stevenson in the locker room. So who knows? He may not be in Iowa for long.
That's what I'm saying. Nigel, I'll be honest with you. After I was even thinking about on the way home, I was like, man, should we do just like an emergency podcast after this Iowa game? I was riding such a high just to,
I was too.
I was like, I want to get this out immediately. And I was like, no, let's wait till next week. And then we're down 17-16 against Prairie View A&M. And I said, you got to be kidding me. We were supposed to have this just celebration podcast. Look how we're back. It's a Cyclone State, and we're going to lose to Prairie View A&M on Sunday. And thankfully, that 17-16 lead didn't last all that long, but kind of a scary start. And I had the voice in the back of my head saying, no, we can't. We can't. Yeah.
I think because it was Sunday, I felt obligated to say a prayer, and I think God answered it around that 16-17 score. I was like, come on, don't do this to me. Don't make me get on this podcast looking stupid.
Yeah.
Because how dumb would the flow be if we went from it's a Cyclone State, but
right.
The SWAC team really got to us, man. I don't know what to say, man. They were the better team for the 40 minutes.
And I think it was in part probably was a little bit of a hangover on the Cyclones end of, you're coming off that win and you got to get locked into a different team.
This is why I bring up finals, bro. Every student at Iowa State remembers the pressure that Sunday before finals week.
Ultimate Sunday scaries.
It's
terrifying.
My experience at Iowa State, I had Sunday scaries every Sunday.
Sure.
Nonetheless, it hits a little harder on that December mark because there's always that one class. You got a low C in it. You're like, is God gonna give me an extra Christmas gift this year? And it's a real time to if I had to play a swag team after a big rivalry game, I'd be a little hungover too. So I get it, but come on, Iowa State. We need to make that first punch on these little sissy teams. We have to. But what were you saying?
I just had a PTSD flashback to. Were you ever on GPA calculator? It was always like early December. I'm just plugging grades in. I'm like, well, if I can get up to a B+ here, A- there, where am I sitting at overall? Just like it was terrifying. It was like it's like the opposite of Selection Sunday, where you're just like sweating.
Being a comp student, we didn't have that many like tests, we had projects.
Right.
So it was just
Yeah.
real like tedious work a lot of the time. So
Yeah.
I was always trying to like, all right, there's one class I have a low A in, sacrifice it, get into B plus.
Yeah.
Because we're not handling that seriously right now. This project that is worth 40% of my grade, just it means a little more. And
Right.
there was a lot of this Sunday. I was making a business decision on what class is getting sacrificed. So imagine doing that and then having to full court press somebody all day.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
You got to go in front of 15,000 people and play basketball when you get done with your group project. Also, I want to shout out Aiden Wyatt, our fearless producer, in the middle of an exam right now. So we're flying solo here, but all the students, all the student athletes,
I will give us a pat on the back.
hey,
but I'm also
we figured it out
because he's graduating early. So shout out to Mr. Wyatt.
Yeah. Shout out Mr. Wyatt. Shout out all the student athletes out there. Got a lot on your plate. And so did the Panthers. And Tamin Lipsey was stealing everything off that plate because that man,
he was stealing all the cookies off that plate.
Relentless.
I have so many nicknames for Tamin, but I think I like the Cookie Monster.
That's not bad.
With the steal record, I might start some Cookie Monster propaganda.
Cookies. And I think it's just a microcosm. I'm not going back to that Cyhawk game. I don't remember who the guard was, but it like miscommunication and it just hit off of Cricky's back. And I was like, dude, if Tamin Lipsey was in this game, that's 2 points. I don't know. He anticipates what is about to happen 3 seconds before it happens.
Yeah.
And on the offense, on the defense, he's done that since high school. He's had that feel for the game. And I think it was just kind of a microcosm on Sunday where you have 8 steals just because you know what's coming. He can tell the future. It's insane. His anticipation and on-ball defense, getting in passing lanes. I would rather, I don't know, man, like have nails for breakfast than try to dribble the ball up the floor against Tamin Lipsey. Like there's a lot of things I'd rather do. There's a lot of things I'd rather do than have Tamin Lipsey guard me for a full basketball game. It looks terrible. I almost feel bad for the opposing point guard because that's a tough assignment.
No, it is. And you talk about his feel for the game. I had a cool experience as an intern. I went with Shannon to Ames High last year to talk to his coach because they were going to do like a March Madness special on him. Yeah. But for whatever reason, the SID didn't send in Tim and he sent in Gabe on accident. And Shannon like had to on the fly just make up an interview. Yes. Right. But we still went to Ames High before that just to get like sound for him. And Robbie was with me and all that stuff. And I remember talking to his high school coach, and he talked about how he's known Tamin his whole life, but the first time he saw him play was at a country club when he was like little.
Yeah.
And Tamin at that age was so good. The coach saw him and he was like, whoa. And I'm just trying to put myself in a perspective of that's a little kid playing at a country club, and you're making the varsity basketball coach who's coached Doug McDermott and Harrison Barnes on the same team. You're making that guy go, whoa. What was he doing to those children?
Cookies.
Was he like doing the ball, pantsing them and then dunking on them? Like how embarrassing was that pickup game? Someone should have been recording it, and I'm gonna call Mr. and Mrs. Lipsey out on that one. Y'all should have had your camera phones out. I know it's probably 2010, so probably had like the iPhone 2 or something, but you should have been recording that. That would have been Cyclone galore. That would have been a treasure at this point. But I would love to find out if we can get Tamin on the show at one point. I would love to ask him, what were you doing to those children? Because good Lord, it is translating now.
And his game, I think that's just kind of like the crux of his game. He could be 10 years old or 55 at the YMCA and just cookies. Like the way he plays basketball, man, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's going to do us wonders. I hope he's a 4-year guy, because if that guy is a senior and his basketball IQ, his defensive pressure, he's going to be one of the most hated players in the Big 12. Not from Cyclone fans, but from opposing teams, because he's going to wreck games. He's going to just destroy your will to run an offense.
Yeah, and I think as his play increase, like his play was already good last year. As his play increases, I think NIL with Sci-Town being built in his era of him being like his 4-year span of college, it's going to be built. I think like it's gonna be more incentive for him to stay because it's not he's not in a Halliburton situation where it's pre-COVID and there's a lot of uncertainty. So you want to go for that easy choice of, well, let me just go to the NBA now while my stock's high. And I think Tamin's always been a guy where I really haven't thought about it until you brought it up, but like I'm like, he's Mr. Ames. He's not leaving. He can't leave. And I hope he feels that same way. But at this rate, dude, like the way he's playing, I wouldn't be surprised to see him on some late second round picks right now. So hopefully the NIL situation is good enough here to where he doesn't even think about that. But yeah, he's definitely putting himself in a situation to be like those old Kansas guards that are there forever and
Frank
can really
Mason
implement their legacy on this program.
I'm going to shout out Brent Bloom. He had a tweet. I think this was after the Prairie View A&M game. Says, per College Basketball Reference, these are the only players since 1980 to average 14 or more points, 6 or more rebounds, 6 or more assists, and 3 or more steals per game during a season. That list is Jason Kidd at Cal Berkeley in 1994 and Tamin Lipsey this year. And that really, Jason Kidd... Probably
Jason Kidd was the rookie of the year.
Yeah. And Jason Kidd, I think I don't think Tamin Lipsey is there yet. Jason Kidd, one of the best point guards of all time. But in terms of controlling a game like Jason Kidd did in his prime in the NBA with the Nets, I see a lot of similarities just in the way he pulls strings and the way he kind of orchestrates things at the point guard position. I thought that was a really interesting and also just an all-around basketball player. He's going to get rebounds. He's going to get steals. And then, of course, he's going to get your points and assists. So just a very well-rounded guard.
The well-roundedness of his game was never going to change. This is what's crazy is that he's averaging 14 points a game. And the difference in that is he can shoot. Yeah. He's shooting. Like, off the dribble. Boom. Up. Cash. And I'm like, yo, like, this is all it took? Was a summer?
Yeah.
Like, to see the jump he's made with just one minor adjustment, like in the grand scheme of things, you talk about all those statistical categories that he's already pretty dominant in. If you mean to tell me all you needed was a jump shot to be arguably first team all Big 12, I mean, that's a problem, dude. He's going to be a problem. So
I don't know who the player development coach is at Iowa State right now, but between Lipsey and Rob Jones' transformation since he got on campus in Ames, has been.
I'm going to look that up. What were you saying?
Rob Jones, too. I mean, he spent a couple years in Iowa State, looks like a completely different basketball player. You
also got to give credit to the strength coach because he looks stronger. Pete Link, I mean, he just looks stronger out there, and it looks like that's giving him that extra advantage because he's still a little strong with the free throws, but nonetheless, he just looks like he can handle himself out there.
And I think some of it, too, is, he was at Denver before he was at Iowa State. So the level of competition to some degree. But, I mean, finishing around the rim, something as simple as that is not something that Rob Jones came in 2 years ago and was great at.
Yeah.
And, he went 6 for 6 against Iowa, like you said, just stronger than anybody on Iowa's team. And it's just all those little things, man. They start to add up. And I hope recruits kind of pick up on, look, Iowa State, not only a great place to play, but they'll make you a better player.
Yeah.
And I think it's the proof is in the pudding with Lipsey and Rob Jones. And just I think Rob Jones is easy for fans to root for. Big Rob energy. He does a lot of the cleanup, a lot of the dirty work. But just to see his growth over the last 3 years has been awesome. And I think fans are really – he got like a standing ovation when he got taken out of the Iowa State game.
I mean,
dude's just a worker. And so it's awesome to see those two guys. We're going to go back. Nigel, I'm going to put the blame on both of us. We both said, Curtis Jones in Omaha could have a good game against Iowa. Omaha was a scratch, and Curtis Jones played fine but didn't really have a breakout game. But I guess he was saving it for Sunday. 6 for 8 from 3, and some of them weren't open threes. Some of them weren't just like corner, good rotation. I mean, he was taking tough shots from three-point land and nailing them.
One of them was like a boop.
Yeah. Yeah, when those start going in.
Feed him the ball. Feed the kid the ball. But
looks good.
no, Omaha. I forgot about Omaha, like in the Cyclone game, but I mean Cyhawk game, excuse me. I was a little concerned to not see him much. I was like, is something going on that we don't know about?
Right.
I'm always a little scared. That's always like an anxiety of mine now going forward for Iowa State is like, what's the deal with Omaha? How is he doing? How's his like where's his head at right now? Because I don't last thing I want to see is that slip away from
Right.
this program. Just given how transfer portal happy kids can get nowadays. So I hope throughout all these ups and downs, TJ is just like staying with him, being like, look, this isn't the end of the world. Like, if you could just trust in me, like, you're going to be all right. And I think at the rate that we're going, we might see a year 2 Omaha, but there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Nothing wrong with that because we could have another Tyrese Halliburton on our hands.
I was going to say, like I said, you take a year to develop, and these guys are doing the damn thing. Like, I mean, like Tamin Lipsey unlocked that perimeter shooting lock, and now he's on a roll. So I would say give it time. And two, against the Hawkeyes at least, I think Odds had to be thinking, whatever I'm doing right now is working. Like, don't try to fix something that ain't broke. And I mean, Iowa State was rolling, and I don't think you take the chance to throw Omaha in there and mess up any momentum that Iowa State had. So I think that's part of it for Cyhawk was, the rotations were working, and don't try to get fancy and mess anything up. So, and then he did play against.
He's prideful of like, I'm not going to let, just because we have a 5-star player, I'm not going to make it seem like this team is revolving around this 5-star recruit because it's not. And it's again, it's a unique situation because the recruiting pitch for Omaha is you can be the only Omaha Blue here, but the way Iowa State recruits, you don't necessarily need to depend on a 5-star like the Blue Bloods do, who usually have those younger teams full of kids that are just trying to be one and done, trying to get to the league as fast as they can.
And I think Omaha going up in practice against Trey King and Robert Jones, 2 guys that are almost 5 years older than him. I mean, imagine not to the same degree, but like a 16-year-old playing against a 21-year-old. Just in terms of like genetics, those are 2 almost entirely different groups. So, I mean, if you're in college doing strength and conditioning workouts for 5 years and you're going against an 18-year-old, I think that's going to toughen Omaha up. And I think it's going to pay dividends on the back end, whether that's in the NBA, whether that's next year at Iowa State. I think it's going to help him.
Yeah. And I think people just got to stay patient. I think those days where he's not getting the minutes you anticipated he would get, we can't get on social media and constantly question it because he's going to see that. He's not dumb. So I think as fans, we always got to remember, just take a back seat. Let it cook. And I think things regarding Omaha will be all right. And what was the other point we were bringing up? In that
Curtis
game?
Jones. It was just kind of those 2 guys that we were talking about. Yeah,
I think given the label of streaky shooter, that's the kind of the pros and the cons. With you give someone that label, that means they can have a microwave game.
Right.
And I think Sunday was a prime example of a microwave game for Curtis. And I think it's also just a testament to you stay confident in yourself and you stay the course. Like, you're going to have a game like that. So that confidence is key because come conference time where we got Texas Tech on the road or something and whatnot, we may need a game like that out of somebody just because other guys aren't feeling it. But I also want to give a shout out to Keyshawn for not letting an Iowa game like that, where he openly admits he's never been in an environment like that. Turns around and gets another 28-8 game. He's four statistics away from triple double. And Damon's already pretty used to getting triple doubles. Imagine if our backcourt, they both were getting triple doubles on the regular. Dude, I mean, I don't think Iowa State's had that dominant of a backcourt ever. Right. So the ceiling, because Gilbert's only a junior, correct?
I think we have at least one more year left after this. I don't know if he has a COVID year or not.
He might have a COVID year.
He's a junior, so for sure one more year if he wants to.
Yeah. So I think that's more incentive for Tamin to come back next year, if his stock is high. But to see where their potential could be by the end of their Cyclone careers is really cool. And I'm excited to see those two as the season progresses. And to think we had that dominant of a win over Iowa and we didn't even have San. Could you imagine?
Yeah.
I'm
And that's another guy that just Iowa would not have had an answer for.
lobs
Yeah.
To San alone.
Yeah.
That might be a 35-point game. We might crack 100 in that game. And I think to get him back coming into conference play. Who do we open up with conference play again?
Oklahoma.
Yeah. See, I told you about Oklahoma a few days ago. Good team, great guard play. So that's going to be a huge test for Tamin and Keyshawn right out the gate. But I think the pedigree of this team right now and the track, we're on the right one for sure. And I think it's going to be, I hope after next, I think it's next Sunday is our next game.
Yes.
So
Florida A&M, I think.
Yeah, I think it's next Sunday against Florida.
Yeah. Florida A&M.
Yeah. So another SWAC team.
Yeah.
Take care of business, please. Because
a revenge game. Nigel, were you a manager for that first go around with FAMU? It was like a New Year's Eve game, maybe 2019, 2018.
I might have still been in high school. 2018, I was still in high school.
Okay. It was Tyrese was hurt with his wrist.
Oh, no. That was 2019. That was 2019.
Yeah. So I don't know. This is, like I said, I was in school for some bad basketball, and I think that was the game where I was like, this ain't it. I was like, this ain't gonna work. I was like, I don't know where to go from here. But that was kind of the nail in the coffin for me of like, I think we're gonna have to change some things because you can't lose to Florida A&M. And it's not like anything before that game had given me hope to be like, this team could really put something together. Tyrese had just gotten hurt, who was really our only hope, and then losing to Florida A&M. So none of these guys were on that team, right. But I want them to beat Florida A&M by 1,000,000 points.
They just might.
I hope so. A couple more things, just kind of a lightning round here. I think easily Arizona. I saw this graphic, and I always love these maps. It's like, what is the most? It's like the United States map, which team is still undefeated, and scary hours for the Big 12. We got Houston, Baylor, Oklahoma, and then Arizona, who will soon be a Big 12 team. And all four of those teams are still undefeated. All four of them are top 25 teams. I think Arizona is probably the best team in the country. They look dominant. And the Pac-12, they're the only ranked team in the Pac-12, and they're ranked first.
Yeah, I think
they could run the table.
The team that can hold their jockstrap is UCLA.
Yeah, and maybe USC. I mean, USC, they
just lost to Long Beach State.
I know, but I think they can beat anyone, and I think they can lose to anyone. I think they're just a weird team with a lot of young talent, and I think they'll play to their competition. But the Pac-12 is down. The Pac-12 is not great this year.
It's not football for sure. But,
no.
I kind of made the same observation. And I hate it because these early observations that I make, they're like, this is the best team in the country right now.
Right.
I did it last year with UConn. When we played UConn, I was like, that's a national championship team. I'm calling it right now. And then I was right. I'm afraid that might be the case with Arizona. And I hate to say it because they already beat Duke. And then Baylor, too. They played Duke in Madison Square Garden. So I'm going to have to see those guys potentially 4 times this year as a fan. And that's going to bother me. So I feel like I'm going to hate them by the end of the year. But, I believe Arizona – it's theirs for the taking. This is killing me because I really hate Caleb Love, guys. You have no idea. It wasn't with the Caleb Grill game that my hatred for him started. It's been since a wee lad.
It's deep rooted. There's layers.
Well, okay. There's a little backstory on Caleb Love that not many people know. So Jeremy Roach, you know of him?
Yeah, Duke, right?
Yeah. They're the same age. Caleb and Jeremy were in the same class. Caleb is from Missouri. St. Louis, to be exact. You know who else? You know what other Dookie is from Missouri? St. Louis? Jason Tatum. Ever heard of him?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Know the guy.
I know they're 4 years apart. So Caleb grew up watching Jason Tatum. So Caleb always said, my dream school is Duke. I want to go to Duke. His dad spilled the beans with all of this. they're Duke is starting to recruit the 2020 class, and out of nowhere, he's like, you know what? We're gonna go. Coach K's like, we're gonna go with Jeremy Roach, and to Caleb's dad was basically like, we were gonna go to Duke, like that was a school Caleb was going to go to, and then he said, and then the person interviewing was like, well, what changed that? He was like, Jeremy Roach. So since then, he's had a personal vendetta against the Blue Devils, and it's like, bro, the amount of people that I hear that scenario from, like, you hate us, not us, but you hate Duke because because you didn't want to, you weren't there, you weren't invited to the party. Grow up. And I feel like Caleb still acts that way now. And then the hatred just grew last year. Well, it was already big because, mind you, the 2022 Final Four.
Yeah.
That was a game that had me on my knees in Walmart, just devastated. I went home and was very teary-eyed after that game. I was in shambles. Oh my God, I was in shambles. Anywho, we fast forward to November. Iowa State's playing North Carolina, and Caleb Grill is giving that boy the business. Just pa in his face,
Looked like Kobe.
face. Yes, like it was nasty. Bro hit a 3 from the parking lot in his grill.
Yeah.
No pun intended. Excuse me. And then, the whole game, his strong chin self is just yapping at Caleb. I'm like, buddy, you're getting cooked.
Yeah.
Let's pipe down. So I don't like him, but game recognizes game. So Arizona is
There's
definitely
a team to beat.
It's theirs for the taking.
Yeah.
And I got to see how Baylor is like long term over these high level Big 12 opponents. But I think the addition to another Illinois product, Ray J. Dennis, that kid's the truth.
Yeah.
He was a problem in high school. He dunked on several of my teammates in summer league and whatnot. Like, he's going to be an issue. So Tamin and Keyshawn, they have to bring their lunch pails that day.
Yeah.
So the Big 12 is exciting. And with the addition to, it's Arizona and who else?
Arizona, Utah, Colorado, and Arizona State.
Whew.
So
football's going to be rough, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not going to get any easier. But
Utah usually has a good basketball program too. They have a lot of NBA players.
Yeah.
Kuzma,
Yeah.
Markkanen, Lauri Markkanen. Did he go to Utah?
No, Markkanen went to Arizona.
You're right.
He plays for Utah now. But you're thinking of Jacob
Jakob Poeltl.
Jakob Poeltl.
Yeah.
And then DeLon Wright.
Yeah.
That was a nasty.
He was a hooper.
I think Kyle Kuzma. Duh.
Yeah, I said Kuzma off the top.
Yeah. So they have some dudes, and the Big 12 is just going to continue to get better, dude.
Big 12's in a good place. Kansas beat Missouri last week. That I kind of wish Missouri would have found their way back into the Big 12 with all this realignment going on. They just seem Kansas and Missouri's rivalry is awesome. And then the other thing we kind of brought it up, Oklahoma, they're the real deal. It reminds me of kind of when Otts did it early, but Porter Moser, I think, has kind of finally figured out the players he wants. I mean, they look good. They look like a well-oiled machine. So that's another team to look out for. Big 12's loaded again. So Iowa State, we got, I think, 3 more non-conference games, and then it's Big 12 season. So
yeah,
got to get it going.
My big thing too is I feel like with Oklahoma, all these teams that have historically good football teams, you're starting to see a lot of the basketball teams get better.
Yeah,
and it's
money.
Not a reflection from the football money that all these schools
Alabama, Texas, Oklahoma.
Yeah, it's not a coincidence that all these teams are picking it up in their products like university round. So it's nobody's safe anymore, dude. It's college basketball. It's why we love it. But I'm excited because Iowa State's going to be in the undisputed best conference in the country for years to come.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a fun time.
It's a Cyclone State. That was a great win against the Hawkeyes. Took care of business, beat the Panthers by 50.
It's a Halliburton country in a Cyclone State. Never forget. So
Tyrese doing the damn thing out there.
What time is it?
Tyrese time.
Okay, I guess it's Tyrese time. Oh, dude, he's great. We need We need Tyrese on the pod. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. We need Tyrese on the pod.
Get him on the
That might
pod.
be the greatest day of my life.
That'd be awesome.
Hands down. Oh, quick little Cyhawk week, Tyrese kind of tie-in. I actually got a picture with him at the Cyhawk game 2 years ago, so 2021 fall football game. He came back after his first year in the NBA, and that kid took pictures with everybody. I was the last one. Right after he took my picture, I was like, thanks, bro. Dabbed him up. He's like, he turned to like all his friends. He was like, all right, let's roll. he had to get out of there because
living legend.
He was not going to watch that football game that day.
Yeah, he will never have to buy a drink in the city of Ames, maybe in the state of Iowa, as long as he stays out of Iowa City. I think he's covered here for life.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'll give him my girlfriend if I had to. You know.
Hey man,
what else do you want? Take all my money. So he's a great guy, and happy to see him doing his thing.
All right, let him cook. Let Tyrese cook. Let the Cyclones cook. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week.